If you or someone you know has diabetes, you may have built up an extra supply of test strips and lancets. That's where we come in. We'll buy the supplies that you don't need and resell them to those in need to prevent waste. Help us make diabetes management more affordable. Visit us at teststripswithaz.com.
All right, we have Nainoa Dung on the show. He returns to action next Saturday at Bellator 236 in Hawaii. Takes on 22-fight veteran Zach Zane. Third Bellator appearance for the baby-faced assassin and the first on this program. Happy to have you here. How are you, sir?
Thanks for having me. You know, we're here in the beautiful Hawaii. Everything's going great. I can't complain.
Yeah, you make me extremely jealous. I am here in Massachusetts, just 22 degrees, there's snow everywhere, ice everywhere, and you're sitting there without a shirt on with this beautiful background behind you. You got it made right now.
Get that workout in soon.
This is amazing. So I'm gonna do this interview for like 3 hours just so I can have that background, if that's okay with you. It's great to have you here. We do actually have a little bit of kinship, you and I, after doing some research, a very small one. Your birthday is actually a day before mine, so I'm only 15 years and 364 days older than you, so shout-outs to us and all the February birthdays out there.
February, yeah, Aquarius.
That's right.
This was for all the Aquarians.
I mean, you make me seem very, very old, just 20 years old, back in the Bellator cage once again. You're unbeaten in your young career. You get to fight in Hawaii. Life's pretty good right now, is it not?
For me, like, I feel like everything is just falling into place. Like, I know I'm young and I know it's early on in my career, but the way things are going and the way things are happening is just exactly how it was supposed to.
Do you feel like things have fallen into place perfectly for you? Like you said, you're 20 years old. Your athletic prime is still like years and years away at this point, which is really scary for people in this division. Do you feel like things are already falling into place at this point?
I say it all the time. Like, I know I'm young and I know I got all the time in the world, but like where I'm at this point in time, like, I'm comfortable with. You know, I'm still growing, I'm getting better, but like for a 20-year-old on this stage and the point I'm at, the connections I've made, the fight camp I've had, like, I'm ready, you know? Like, I'm not in a rush, but it's my time.
Before I talk to somebody for the first time, I do like to peruse the Tapology pages. Sometimes they're missing some things and are not all there that are accurate, but it says on your page in particular that you have one amateur fight, and that was in 2012. So according to my 36-year-old math skills, you would have been 13 years old. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. You know, I had two fights in Washington. You know, it was MMA under 18 was legal, and we took advantage of that quick. You know, like growing up, my dad was my head trainer. My first fight was at 6, so like I had a lot of experience and a lot of time, and like we wanted to get in there and do the real thing. You know, there was a lot of like tournaments they had was like only body shots or was more tailored towards grappling, but we wanted that real MMA experience.
What was that like for you as a 13-year-old? Like you said, you growing up, you've had fights when you were 6 years old, which is crazy. I have a 6-year-old right now. I can't imagine him getting into a fight with anybody. You're already like 7 years a veteran at this point. What was that like getting into a cage at 13 years old?
The thing with like at that time, like I had so many fights before that, like I was already comfortable, you know, like that's why I consider myself to be like a young, like veteran, you know, but at the same time, like you said, it's scary because I am young and I'm still growing. Like imagine me in like 4 to 5 years from now, you know, they call young prospects 25, 26, like I'm 20, like 6 years from now, it'd be scary.
Did that enhance your street cred in the schoolyard, having MMA fights at 13 years old?
The thing is, like in Hawaii, like we love to fight. Like I had multiple street fights, like growing up. Like everyone has. Like that's just the way of life here, you know. Like we fight.
Were you like 4 or 5 years old when you started training martial arts?
Yeah, 4 or 5 years old. Like you know, nothing like the type of training I'm doing now, but like the way like that point in time, like that's when you're like starting to develop like certain skills, like your brain, like. And my dad took advantage of that and started getting me like into training early, and yeah, we're here now.
And it's important, I think, as well to develop that sort of martial arts mentality and the mindset because, you know, you could fight on the streets and it's easy to do. Like you could just go up to anybody and fight them, but it takes a certain discipline to sort of pick your battles. You know what I mean? And you learn that at a very young age. How beneficial was that for you growing up?
Very like beneficial, you know, like exactly like you said, like sometimes like street fights are like random. Like it's different. Like it's a different type of mindset and mind frame you got to get into. Like to know that you're fighting this guy, he's training to come out there and take your head off, and you're training to do the same. And you guys meet up on that date, and like that's the whole thing behind fighting. That like only a fighter knows the feeling.
So last year, you make your Bellator debut in Hawaii at Bellator 213 against Kona Oliveira. You're on the main card for your debut, which is pretty cool, and you finished the fight in the third round. What was that moment like for you in just your second pro fight?
I feel like even if that was only like my second pro fight, that moment right there will carry on like through my whole career. That was one of the like best moments like I've ever had. You know, like the energy and just everything. You know, we actually knew each other growing up, like a small island, and we were supposed to fight. Like, and speaking of street fights, it would have been like a backyard like street fight, but we couldn't agree on the rule set, and he was always a bigger guy. He was bigger than me. He was like a year older than me, and we could never agree on it. And they'd always say like I was scared or I was ducking, and that wasn't the case, you know. And then Rich came at me with that fight, and I said, I don't care who it is, I'll take it. And it just so happened to be him, and I was like, okay, that's exactly the fight I wanted. Like, it's perfect. It had to happen at some point, you know. And yeah, you've seen how that went.
Did you guys squash the beef? Have you talked since then?
Yeah, we had no beef, you know. It's a sport at the same time. Like, it's my life. Like, I take it real serious, but nothing personal in there with me. Like, I'm just going out there to do my thing. You know, the only thing that matters in the end is getting that win.
So your next fight was in July at Bellator 224. Are you exclusive with Bellator? Did they sign you long term after that fight last year?
Yeah. So, like I say it too, like they don't make mistakes. You know, they had every top Hawaii prospect on that card, and I was the only one to get signed, and I take pride in that because I put in so much time and so much work into this. This is like my life. Like a lot of people say it, but I don't see too many guys truly like living it, you know. And yeah, we got signed on that fight, and got a couple more fights after this one, and we'll see how everything goes.
Four fight deal in total?
Yes, 4-fight deal, and yeah, I plan on knocking those 4 fights off. You know, I'm not looking past anyone. I'll be 6-0. I turn 21 in February, and yeah, we'll go from there.
So now you get Zach Zane, who's a wily veteran of the sport, also from Hawaii. He's one of the top-ranked 55ers in that area. You mentioned knowing Kona Oliveira heading into that fight. You guys had a little bit of a history. Is Zach a guy that you've known as well throughout this process? Because he's got a name, he's got a reputation in that area. Has he been a guy that's been on your radar for a while?
He was never on my radar. You know, my plan was to represent Hawaii. You know, coming up, I never thought we'd be fighting. Like, he was never someone who was like, oh, I look up to that guy, or oh, I want to go and fight that guy, you know. It just happened this way because I'm the young up-and-comer with Bellator, and, like, to represent somewhere, you got to be the best in that, like, region, you know. I got to be the number one lightweight in Hawaii to go and represent Hawaii. So I got to take that from him. So this matchup was perfect.
Talk about who you've been working with to get you ready for this fight. Any specific training partners you've had as well. Let everybody know how you've been using your time, who you've been preparing with to get you ready for next Saturday.
So like my team, you know, I train with so they're called Sanford MMA now. Is Henri Hooft, Coach Greg Jones. We got Dr. Corey Peacock, Kami Barzini. We got a whole like solid group of coaches, and some of my teammates I had for this camp, some Bellator fighters, Adam Borix from Hungary, he's undefeated. Michael Chandler, former champion. Like UFC fighters, 1MC fighters, like high-level training partners. And nothing specific for my opponent, just made sure I was in good shape, no injuries, and yeah, we put in the work.
When did you start training with that team?
I flew out around 17. Around 17, I linked up with Henry. It was more towards when I was planning on turning pro as a kickboxer. So I found the best striking coach I could find in America, and it was Henri. And ever since then, we kept that connection, and I transitioned into MMA around 18.
At such a young age, a lot of fighters won't make that kind of move this early in their career. Like, they'll wait a little longer, and a lot of times you see it when things are going badly in their career and they need a switch or a change of pace. At 17, like, I know you were looking to, you know, to turn pro as a kickboxer. Henri Hooft, I mean, you can't find a better guy than that to get you ready for that kind of a thing. Exactly. To fly to Florida from Hawaii, I mean, I'm looking at the background behind you, to fly from there at 17 years old, what was that like for you? What led you to that decision to leave home like that?
I really live this life, you know, like, I don't look at it as a sacrifice. It's just something that I got to do to get to where I want to be. But I got a good family, solid family. My mom, my dad, my sisters, my close friends, you know, they make it easier. They know that, like, this is what you got to do to get where you want to be. So, yeah, I don't look at it as a sacrifice. It's just something I got to do.
Were you a little overwhelmed going to Florida, coming from the Hawaii lifestyle? I mean, there's two totally different places, two totally different mentalities.
Different places, but like I said, I live the same lifestyle.
That's true.
Just because I'm here in Hawaii, it's not because, like, I'm vacationing and chilling. Like, I put in the work here, and I put in the work there. Like, everything I do is based off of fighting, you know.
Second time you're on a fight card headlined by Ilima-Lei Macfarlane for Bellator, and sort of watching what she did last year. She came out of that looking like an absolute superstar coming out of the event. She'll headline this one as well. What is it like being a part, not, you know, obviously being a part of a Bellator card in Hawaii is huge, but being a part of one that's headlined by Ilima-Lei Macfarlane, who's probably the biggest star they've ever had in women's MMA. What was that experience like, and how excited are you to do it again?
I love that we got a Hawaiian champion in there, you know, but she's in the female department. I'm looking to become Hawaii's first Bellator champion, you know. I got a long road ahead of me, but I'm ready, you know. I'll be prepared to take the right steps, take the right fights, and we'll be there soon. But shout out to Ilima doing her thing.
So how far away do you think you are from that? 2 fights left in your deal. Yeah. I assume you're happy. You wanna stick around with Bellator after this if everything can work out. How far away do you think you are?
You know, I can't really say, but who knows? I'm just looking like long term and trying to be realistic with my goals, you know. And I feel like since I started earlier, my prime will come earlier than most. You know, some guys' prime hits like 28, 30. I think mine's will be like my mid-20s. With all of the time that I put in from when I was young to now, like, I can see the changes in my body. I can feel the difference in my strength. My mindset was always ahead. And I look forward to this fight. I get to go out there and prove all of that.
How much of an advantage do you think the way you take to the fight game, the way you approach the fight game, especially at 20 years old, how much of an advantage do you think that is for you against a lot of other fighters? Because a lot of people don't look at it the same way as you do.
Yeah, exactly. And I see that, and I know that it makes a big difference. And that's why I'm so, you know, some people take it as cocky, but I'm so confident because of the work I put in, because of, like, my lifestyle that I live. Like, I can go on, but I just can't wait.
I'm curious to get the answer to this question because I don't know where it's going to go. But how do you plan on setting the table for Ilima-Lei Macfarlane next Saturday? You versus Zach Zane. How do you see this fight all going down?
The thing with, like, if you go back to some of my old interviews or some other interviews I had, I never say I'm going to go out there and knock this guy out. You know, that's not what I'm looking for. If it comes, it comes. With me, the ultimate defeat is when the man across of you just lets you, like, I like to go in there, take everything, and leave him with nothing, you know. And for him to quit on himself, that's the ultimate defeat that I'm looking for. I want to go in there, show him that there's nothing that he can do, you know, and you just gotta get down and lay down.
You give me goosebumps right now. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I really mean it too. Like, I know you feel it, and I feel it. Like, I just can't wait. I never go in there like, oh, I'm gonna go out there and I'll knock this guy out. You know, like, you don't always get a knockout. You know, it's awesome to get one, but I go in there to try and pick my opponents apart, break them down.
I know you said you have a goal. You want to be the first Hawaiian-born male Bellator world champion,
Yeah.
which is a great goal. That's something you post on your wall. It's something you can look at whenever it happens. It happens. That's great. Do you allow yourself to look a little less ahead? Like, do you look at 2020? Do you have goals set for next year? And do you look at future opponents and things like that? Or are you just more focused on the big goal and then like the little ones in front of you, that next step?
I have long-term goals and short-term goals, but like I said early on, the main thing or the most important thing is winning. You know, some people don't like admit it, but like, you know, oh, win or lose, like just go out there and learn. Like I'm looking to go out there and win. You know, not in here for fun and games. Like I got a family to feed. You know, and yeah, I look forward to going out there and getting this win on December 21st.
Because martial arts is such a big part of your life and it has been for so long, if you become a champion, that comes with big responsibility. Obviously, you fight, you have to perform to your abilities, you got to do all the right things before the fight and things like that, but it gives you a platform to do other things. Do you have specific plans on how to give back to the martial arts community and things you want to do in the future?
You know, like even like before becoming champion, I try to give back as much as possible. You know, growing up in Hawaii, not too many people see because they see it as paradise, but there's a lot of poverty, you know, homeless, you know, the cost of living here is high. And like, even before I become champion, like I look forward to giving back to any way possible, you know, giving my time, whether it's food, feeding some people who are hungry or less fortunate. I actually made a gym like in a homeless encampment. Not sure if too many people seen it. Like I didn't push it out too much, but we had a homeless like encampment, and I set up a gym for like the kids there. I was teaching some self-defense classes, but it's sad to say the state and the government shut that down, and they took that property they were living on, and they're gonna build on it. So we couldn't go too far ahead on that, but like my mindset is there. Like I love to take care of my family and the people.
That's amazing stuff, man. And at 20 years old, I gotta say you're wise beyond your years. I've talked to 1,000 fighters at this point. And it's very rare that you find somebody at 20 years old who has that kind of mentality and you're very selfless. And I think that's something to be proud of.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. That's good, and kudos to them as well for helping make that happen. But I'm looking forward to seeing you back in action next Saturday. Yeah. I know Bellator 236 taking on Zach Zane. Fun fight at 155 pounds. Looking forward to next weekend for sure for both of those cards and everything going on in the combat sports world. But before we let you go, man, let the folks know where to find and follow you on the web, social media, shout-outs, anything else you want to get off your chest. The floor is yours.
Okay. On Instagram, Nainoa_Dung. Give me a follow. Message me. I always respond. Besides that, I just wanted to say I'm taking on the #1 lightweight in Hawaii, and when I beat him, what does that make me? See you soon, guys.
Love it, man. All the best to you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.